the human race in 2011 AD. We got the technology to move forward. We got the knowledge and the means to build upstream. We got the technology to go faster. We got the passion and the talent to make this real.
So this is a skill of direction, and essentially it's the first skill that you really need to get stuck into before you get into all the other ones that are involved in map work. This video will be at a year 7 level, but it can very much extend itself all the way into year 12 rather quickly, because direction is always linked to mapping, and you can be tested in many different ways from year 7 to 12. So there'll be a range of things in here for all levels. And I go pretty quickly into, I suppose, a stage 5, year 10 level, with a variety of activities and information to keep you understanding what this skill is all about. So where do we begin? Well, you need to start off with the 4 main cardinal points or compass directions. It's the basis of all direction that we know, and that is essentially the north, south, east and west. These ones will always be the 4 main ones. When you go to the additional 4, which takes it to 8 cardinal points, and then when you take it to the 16 cardinal points, you always need to use north, south, east and west as your basis. There is a range of ways to remember this. At a very primary level, you would have an understanding of where north, east, south, west is. But it is one of the things that many people do get wrong in their life. So one of my greatest advice is, when you're out in society, when you're out in public, think about where your bearings are. Think about where you may have travelled, where your house is in Sydney, where your school is, what is the direction from home to school, what have you travelled over that may be a good vantage point in society somewhere. And always really start thinking about where you are, where you're travelling in a north direction, and what can you use around you. Essentially some of the main things is to use the sun. There's a lot that you can do by knowing where you are and the direction you're going, by simply knowing where the sun is at some duration of the day. Remembering that where we are here in Sydney is that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. So essentially just looking at your time of day and thinking about that as well can really play a role into knowing where you are. So if you go to the 8 main compass points, you're then including northeast, southeast, southwest and northwest. Okay, and I'll show you that coming up in this next transition slide, where you can actually look at all the 16 compass points coming together. Okay, and this, as far as at a standard year 7, year 8, you're probably looking at the 4 and 8 main compass directions or cardinal directions. Then we'll take it to these 16 cardinal directions. Okay, and here it is here. Okay, you've got what you can see there as a full rotation of 360 degrees. We'll get into bearings later on as a different skill, but I've included it here in this diagram. So you can see that the big red lines are north, south, east and west. Actually, one of the misconceptions is that that was labelled as the news. It's not. It was actually talking about new things. So when you were travelling or exploring, it was new. Okay, so that's something to think about. What you can also see here is the different degrees at the 8 cardinal points and at the right angles. Okay, that's going to be good too. But essentially what you want to be getting your head around is, what are the 16 and how do we work out those 16 cardinal points in the middle? You can see between north and northeast there is an NNE. Okay, that is essentially saying north, northeast. So looking at the visual now, we've just done the 4 main cardinal points. Now we're doing the 8, so northeast, southeast, southwest, northwest. And then what we'll do next is we will bring in those final 8. Okay, now these are the more trickier ones to remember, but the golden rule is to remember that north and south come first, east and west come second, and then you measure from there. So you've got north, northeast, east northeast, east southeast, south southeast, south southwest, west southwest. And then you've got west northwest, because as you can see, west is the main cardinal point there, and then you go to the middle. Okay, that's how you work it out all the time. Don't get confused by saying northwest west. Okay, the final one there is north northwest, because the main cardinal point is north. Okay. Right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to have a really simple introduction into doing this activity. As you can see here from the visual, you've got Philip in the middle, and the questions on the right hand side are trying to get you to think about what the direction is from Philip to these destinations. It's very important, I'll reiterate this a couple of times in this video, is that from means that's first, you're going from that location, and to means you're going to. Okay, always read the question properly to get this right every time. So if you look at Philip to the factory, what you're dealing with there is southwest. If you're going from Philip to the school, okay, you're simply going from Philip out, and that is east. From Philip to the football ground will be northeast. From Philip to Sarah's house will be northwest. Then we go from the school to the football ground, so that will be northeast. And then from Sarah's house to the factory will be simply south. And then from the football ground to the factory will be southwest. And that is very much at a year 7 level. If you're getting that right in year 7, you can move on, okay, rather quickly. But I've seen many times students in years 8, 9 and 10 get those questions wrong because they don't read the language of the question. So remember, from equals first, and to means you're going to. Imagine you're out there in real life going to these locations. Okay, so next what we're going to do is look at some photographs and try and think about what direction the photographer was in order to take this shot. So this is a great little question that I often asked in geography papers because it points out your knowledge about what you know about these features, and then try and get a sense of where it might be and what you could possibly use to get a better judgment of where this location is and then what direction this was shot in. So when you're looking at this photo of Sydney Harbour, you've got two things in the sort of mid-ground that can help. You've got the Opera House there, which is in front of the Harbour Bridge. So therefore, that gives you a bit of understanding on what side of the harbour this was shot in. You've also got another indicator here, and that is the sun. The sun is essentially setting on the other side of the bridge. So if you can work out where the Opera House is, where the Harbour Bridge is, and then where the sun is, you can get a sense for where this may be shot. Usually these type of questions you'll have a map, so you'll be able to find these features on the map and then be able to work out, and then go to your question and find out where the answers are. That is the best thing, and at the end of this video you'll see me look at some photographs and point out in one of my classes what it is. One thing you could do if you're just doing this in class is pull up Google Maps and try and get a sense of where this shot was taken. Obviously it could have been taken from a boat, but you've also got the ability of this to be taken from a vantage point, say from a head or something out not too far. And as you can see from the cursor, it could have been taken from Mrs. Macquarie's chair or somewhere around that location, because you can see it's on an angle and it's getting the Opera House in there as well. Okay, so now you've got to just make that simple link with, okay, you've got the person standing there taking the photo, you've got your landmark features, you've got your sun, what direction? So you go back to your compass and think about, well, okay, it's sort of northwest, but it could also almost be west northwest, okay, because there's a little bit of slant there. Obviously, if you go to the question, one of those options is going to be there, so I would be selecting one of them at least. Okay. All right, this is a little bit trickier because of where the photograph is taken. You almost need to know some knowledge, but this is a shot taken at a particular place, and for boys at NSB, we'll be able to get this just by thinking about where this is actually shot. So you're on grass, you're looking at a building, and if you can think about whereabouts around the school this is taken, you can then get a sense for which way the photographer was facing. So this is obviously the principal's lawn, looking at the front part of B Quad. Now this is where you might have to go back to Google Maps. Your inside knowledge is key here, and that will always play a role in a lot of geography papers. But let's just go back to Google Maps and see if we can get a bit more of an understanding about how this is shot. Okay, so you're going to have to zoom in pretty much on top of the school. Okay, so you come up here, and as you can see, that blue dot there is our geolocation, which is going to assist us in thinking about where this is actually being shot. Okay, so you're looking for that lawn. Okay, there's the car park there. Okay, so you've got to come across to the other side here where the lawn is, and it may have changed since this shot has been taken. Obviously there could have been changes to the built environment. What I've done here though is flip it around so you can get a feel for which way the photographer was facing to take this shot. Bear in mind though that your compass cardinal direction will change. So now we are we're north facing south. Okay, and so that's going to assist us from getting this taken. So basically we're south facing now, and if you were to zoom back out, you would be able to see the Sydney Harbour again. So going back to what I was saying about have a geographical location. The Harbour Bridge is a good one for Sydney people because it runs in literally a south-north direction across. Okay, so the final photograph here I'm giving to you in a different area. Okay, so taking on all the knowledge that I've given you, you can work this one out now. Okay, so it's getting a little bit harder. Obviously, there's some different things going on. So if you were to try and get the direction, and I'm also now asking you what time this was shot as well. So once again, in the foreground, you may know that suburb, but if you don't, you know going back to where there's some other things going on here. You've got the Opera House once again, and that's to the left-hand side of the Harbour Bridge, and you've got the CBD there. So if you were to go back to Google Maps, you'd be able to position where those three points are, and then think about where the photographer is. So we're on the North Shore, looking back across the bridge. We're basically in a sort of west direction here. Okay, maybe a bit more sort of towards the southwest kind of region, going back towards across the Harbour Bridge there, and then into Piermont, and then across into the inner west. You've also got here the sun. Now, because the sun is behind the Harbour Bridge, you're going to be saying that this is an afternoon shot or a sun setting shot. You don't know what time of the year it's been taken. You might be able to look at the trees. I mean, there's full growth there, so that might be a good indicator that it's closer to the summer or possibly the spring. But you know that this is in the afternoon because of the sun setting. Okay, and it's a lot darker on this side of the harbour, which I'm saying the east side of the Harbour Bridge, because that sun would be reflecting on different landform features, particularly look at the CBD buildings. Okay.
Okay, so what we're looking at here, Year 7, is a topographic map. Okay, the way that we can pick up that it's a topographic map straight away is by looking at these things, or these red lines that's everywhere, which are called contour lines. Okay, now these contour lines essentially are showing what? What do you think? Who can give me an answer as to what these contour lines are showing on our map. What do you reckon? What do you think all those red lines are?
Streets.
They're not streets. Good try.
Roads.
They're not roads, but good try.
Positions that geographers use to map sections.
Okay, we're getting better. Okay. Think about, there's numbers next to these red lines. Who would like to have another go?
Route marker.
What do you think? What's a route marker?
Like marking.
No. Keep thinking. No.
Will it tell you like where is it like a particular speed you should be traveling?
No, they're not roads. Okay. You can see these little small red lines. You're looking at the straight red lines. Okay. Look at those thin ones on the map.
The altitude.
Altitude, the height above sea level. Okay, so we're able to see the shape of the land and how it looks. Okay, we'll get to contour lines in a few lessons, but right now, what I'm interested in is direction. On this map, we've got a series of hills, okay, such as Carrara Hill. Then we've got Glover's Hill. Over here, we've got Stevens Peak, okay. And we've also got bays, Shoal Bay, Nelson Bay, places like Beaches, Fingal Bay. These are the things I'm more interested in right now. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do, there's a series of questions up on the board. What I want you to do for me, please, is to have a go at the direction. Now, a little hint. Think about the language. You've got from Nelson Bay to Fingal Bay, and then this one is to Glover's Hill from Nelson Head. Okay? The golden rule with direction is from equals first, or the place you're starting at. Okay? To equals going to. Okay? So, have a go at those ones. So question one is from Nelson Bay to Fingal Bay. So from Nelson Bay, now I didn't point out before which one to go to, but the actual physical geographical location of Nelson Bay is up here. Okay? That's just the marking of, say, the suburb. Okay? So change it if you thought it was there, but come up to the actual physical feature. The landform feature. So, from Nelson Bay to Fingal Bay. Where's Fingal Bay? It's down there. Who's got an appropriate answer?
Southeast.
Correct. I'll accept southeast. That is a general southeast direction. Are you going from that one or that one? Okay. It's from the actual landform physical feature, which is the actual bay itself. Okay. All right. Question two. To Glover's Hill from Nelson Head. So, where is both those locations? That's Nelson Head right up the top. Okay. And what else are we looking for? Glover's Hill. Read the question properly again. If you put your fingers on the map like this, you still want to try and get the question in your head, because sometimes you go, oh yeah, and choose the silly mistake. So it says to Glover's Hill from Nelson Head. What's the correct answer?
Southwest.
Ooh, read the question again. It says to Glover's Hill, but from Nelson Head. Southwest, just slightly. South as well. See how we worked that out? You've got to start at Nelson Head. So it says from Nelson Head. So just southwest I'll accept. I would have also accepted south. Okay? Because if you go in a south direction, you're still going to hit Glover's Hill. Did you get that one, boys? Okay. Question 3. Box Beach, okay, from Carrara Hill. So Box Beach is there. Curra Hill is there. Go back to the question. It says Box Beach from Curra Hill. So, who wants to have a go?
East.
I'll accept east. Because the question's saying you have to start from Curra Hill and go in an east direction. If you go directly east, you're still going to hit that beach. Okay? So, you didn't go through the water or around the other way, you still hit that beach, so you're still able to get there. Good. Question 4. Stevens Peak to Glover's Hill. So there's Glover's Hill again, and then we've got Stevens Peak right there. Go back to the question. It's saying Stevens Peak to Glover's Hill. So what's the answer?
So west southwest.
West southwest. I will accept. That's a much better answer there. See how you can see it's not directly west? It's got that southwest degree edge to it. Okay? So well done on those 4. Now, let's all go to source E first of all. It's down here at the bottom. All right. This is where it's using your extra knowledge of what we've learned today. I'm going to let people just investigate for themselves. Look at your map, look at the landform features, and then picture yourself taking this photograph. For a little bit insight to this photograph, how would have this photograph been taken first of all? Yeah, it's from the air, isn't it? Okay? It's not going to be some really, really big extension, you know, selfie stick camera. Okay? Because how high above sea level would this actually be? Be quite high. It'd be in a plane. Okay? Yeah, it'd be much higher than just those mountains. Okay, Farhan, have a go. We'll talk about it at the end, boys.
Southwest, and it is Tomari Head.
Okay, so how have you worked it out? Talk it out.
I looked at the shape of Shoal Bay.
Yep.
And it's curved inwards from the head.
Yep.
And it goes outwards, protruding into Nelson's Head. So I looked at that arc, and then I looked at the rise in the
Good.
in the maps.
Excellent. So don't just use one guess. With these questions, you need to bring all your geographical knowledge and think about you being out in this environment. Okay? Now, it would be safe to say that where my finger is, do you reckon that's a fairly good position?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but now you've got to work out which way the lens was pointed. So, how do you work that out? Well, you look at the beaches. Okay? Do you reckon we're more pointed, say, that way?
Yeah.
Okay, so what was your direction you gave? Southwest, I'm going to generally give you that right answer. Okay? You might have a multiple choice. It might say northwest, southeast, north, you know, all the 4 additional cardinal points. Southwest would be the correct answer for that one. Okay, and the final one is source A. Go to source A. I'm going to see if anyone else can get this. Liam, what are you using?
Just it looks bulge in the background.
Yep.
That's there.
We call that a tombolo, but yeah.
Is I think that's Tomari Head.
Yep, you're correct.
And it's so I think it's east.
Okay, the big giveaway for this is actually gives you Nelson Bay. So that's where you should go straight away on your map. Okay, go to Nelson Bay. You use that reference point in the background of the photograph, which is Tomari Head. So what was the direction it's taken in? East. You got it. All right, so now you've got a bit more of an understanding of direction and photographs.